Why, hello there. My name is Matt, and I like to talk about error cards, Pokemon card value, really anything. And this is going to be a little bit different video than I usually do, probably geared more towards my subscribers and people who already know me versus bringing new people in. By the time this is released, I believe I will be up in northern Minnesota hanging out for a few days, and I thought it would be kind of fun to just do a check-in with everyone and show you a little bit behind the scenes and just kind of have a little bit more of a rambling Matt. I know it's kind of hard to imagine that versus me rambling during the era recaps, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to film and you can hear a little bit more of my unfiltered thoughts and yeah, show you some behind the scenes of how I create these videos and how I approach the hobby of error card collecting. I guess we could start off here on eBay. So here's basically what I like to do if I'm ever searching for just errors out in the wild. This is kind of the exact search criteria I use just to find vintage cards that could have errors in them. Usually I'll search this link quite a few times a day, and this is something where I'll just kind of, I'll type this in, check out the save search, and then see if I can find an error, usually on the first page, and I go back to doing what I'm doing. It's just kind of a fun way to check in, and sometimes you get lucky finding something. So click refresh here. We'll see basically we got Fossil Set, Base Set, Jungle, Shadowless, and Wizards of the Coast. Basically it covers it. I know I missed some like Team Rocket stuff and other stuff, but in general this seems to do pretty well for me. And here, I just like to look, here we would look for Black Dot Charizard or a Mirror Hollow. Printer hickeys, miscuts, off centers, just really any of those. Hollow bleeds, different things you can look for when you're going about this. One of these actually sold recently, and it was not listed as a pre-release card. I think someone picked it up for like 20 or 30 bucks, and now this might be that same person reselling it for $530. So there's little things like that you can find that are really cool and could be a big gain when you're looking for non-error cards. Just for me as a collector, this is kind of something I like to do throughout the day. It's kind of like checking social media, but you're kind of just checking eBay to see what's going on. Always some cool cards here. It's always interesting too to see like, is this Psyduck actually worth that much? So, and sure enough, that's worth. Oop. Here's the video I'm just editing. What happened? Well, we'll get back to that later, I guess. Oh, that's not the reverse hollow though. This sells for $80, and then yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see what cards are selling for. Obviously look for errors, but also just kind of be up to date on what certain pricings are. It's just good to keep up to date with it. With this, obviously we're looking for stage error, illustrator error, black dot error. Blastoise, it's hard to tell with mirror hollows, so usually don't look for that, but maybe a hollow shift or something. I apologize if this is not fun, but some people call my videos calming, and they just enjoy watching. So if you're just looking for something to have on in the background, listen to me ramble while I look for error cards. It's kind of fun. I don't know. I guess we could get a little bit to the check-in portion of this too. One thing I heard recently was someone online was talking about it's called parts therapy, and I thought it resonated with me, and I was hoping maybe it could help someone else too, where basically you think of yourself as not just a whole person, but as there's several parts that make up you, and when something happens to you, it doesn't really impact your whole life, it impacts a part of you. So it's like, let's say if I'm nervous to make a video, it's better to say a part of me is nervous to make this video rather than my whole self is nervous for this. And so it kind of helps with the highs and the lows of just going through life with experiencing different things and dealing with different issues. And I thought that was just kind of interesting. Been trying to be just more in touch with how I'm feeling in general, just with balancing a lot of different things can get stressful, and so to have check-ins like that and just kind of make sure you're being aware of how you're feeling is important. So parts therapy, I believe that's what it's called, but I probably butchered the example of that and what it's talking about, but in general, that's how I kind of interpreted it and thought that was kind of interesting. And yeah, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed or stressed out by something, say a part of me is stressed out. Not my whole self, you know. There could be 7/8 of you that's still fine, but it's just a little nagging part in the background that's kind of making things more stressful for you. So back to cards and error cards. Obviously, what is that? Oh my god, I didn't expect to find anything. It's a non-hollow. The card looks like it's in good shape. Looks like a black dot. Well, there we go. Alright, not sure if that was a dumb move or not, but that doesn't look normal. It looks like a black dot. Again, it could be just ink, but I think that's worth the gamble. It's kind of cool. Well, didn't expect that. Obviously, here we would look for first edition stamp. We have a gray stamp. Now this is, I don't know, not really my cup of tea. I don't think it's really worth it. But some people enjoy those, and so, you know, having a gray stamp, and one that's actually faded that much, could be cool. So, you know, different errors you could look for. Saw an example, not of this by any means, but where a portion of the background hollow was actually missing. So that's always kind of another thing I like to keep an eye out for. For these fossil cards, it's always interesting to look for double hollows. So it's or like a double printing, a repeating hollow pattern, where basically you'll see a star like this and then the same exact star right next to it, and you'll see that for every single example. And I believe it's Fossil Set that has examples of those. Extremely rare, but always something that I keep in the back of my mind when looking for that. Obviously, with Jungle Set, there's always the missing symbol, but if it's graded, there's a very, very high chance that they caught that. So, hard to say for that. Oh, funny enough, actually. So, I'll show a video on screen, but here's a card I picked up at a local card show the other day. It's a Venusaur from Pokemon Celebrations. Got it for $5. It's a 7, but I wrote 5 because I got a deal on it. And you can see it's a hollow bleed, which is kind of cool. Some of these celebration cards actually could have, you know, the hollow bleed all the way through, and it's actually on Venusaur itself too. So that was kind of a fun pickup I had. If this was a regular Kangaskhan, not the base set 2, you'd look for the green spear error. Shadowless Blastoise, just an awesome card. I was having the conversation with Sam from Sam Finds the Error, how if there's any examples, you know, it's cool, the expedition cards here. If there was a miscut, that basically made the border normal. So it was shifted down and to the left, so basically the border was completely consistent on all sides. If anyone has an example of that, pop over to the Discord and drop it in, because I think that'd be fun to see. But yeah, I think for whatever reason, it's difficult set to have errors. I'm not sure if just the quality was higher or what that was really, but yeah, that'd be a cool one to see. With base set 2 Poliwrath, we look for the blue dot error here in the center of the swirl there. Additional yellow ink. I'm not sure if it's with first editions here, but for Psyduck and a couple other fossil ones, additional yellow will be kind of scattered all about the card. Dark Raichu could have the low ink error around the border there. First edition Gengar, isn't there something where there's a repeating printer hickey on the back of the card? So I would check there. Obviously, PSA wouldn't recognize that, and some of the back of the card could be a little bit harder to spot, but I ain't dropping $345 on the card. My favorite, Venusaur, we would look for the water obstruction error. There would be light blue, kind of different circles around here. Repeating error, but not in the same spot, can be kind of a larger one or several small ones, so always kind of look out for that. Boy, that's beat up. It's always interesting too. You can kind of tell that it's not an English card right away by the pattern of the hollow. You know, different printings of the languages would have different hollows, which is interesting. But if it was an English Vaporeon, there's a line right here. It's a repeating error. Very hard to see. I've never seen one actually available on eBay to sell, but I've seen examples of it where there's a black line right here. So that'd be a cool repeating error to keep an eye out for. Couple Togetix. Obviously, look for inverted stamp. I think most people would know that one, but sometimes the stamp can be obstructed or lightly pressed. It can be hard to tell with just one or two photos, but sometimes it could be missing. If it's the English version, you can look for crimps on this. That's kind of why I keep an eye out when I'm looking for that. Blue ink error. This one might not be too hard to tell because sometimes the blue ink doesn't bleed all the way to the hollow box here, so it could kind of be on the inside here, and with a different angle you could tell, and it wouldn't be noticeable by most people. Articuno. I know this is Italian, but I believe there's a black dot repeating error on Articuno. That could be Moltres though. Oh, Shadowless Venusaur. Always just reminds me of the miscut one I got. So this is one, again, even if this had the green spear error here, not sure if I'd pick it up because shipping to my house would be $18. So that's where you can almost buy the error card for that. So unless it's something that's really worth it. So again, we look for that pre-release symbol here. Upcoming videos, I'll show a slight teaser of what I'm thinking, but it's going to be of a box break, and I'm adding the most information you've ever seen to a video before, which I think is going to be really cool. And it's a big name person who opened it, and so I'm hoping that we'll get some views and get a little more momentum for the channel. Trying to do different things, trying to really add value to videos. If I'm going to react to something, I want to make sure I'm adding something to it, not just myself talking about it. I want to add as much information as possible to make it really interesting to view. You can see we're still on the first page here, so this is typically what I would do. I'd go a lot faster. You know, I'm not looking for every single thing here, or not pointing out every single thing. Blaine's Charmander, we would see a water obstruction that would be kind of yellow up here. Anywhere on the upper part here is kind of where I'm looking for that, because somewhat of a repeating error. Snorlax would be the additional white ink error along here, but that one's pretty noticeable, so you wouldn't see it this far down on the listings. That would be snagged before. Blue dot. And yeah, that's kind of generally what I would do. Now let's head over to Reddit here and just see what's going on here. So top for this week, it's kind of cool. Look at this Mudkip. So you can see it's not sun faded because sun faded would affect the yellow here first. And I believe someone gave an excellent example of what it is. Someone said what it was. Missing cyan print layer error. Sun faded fade the magenta and the yellow ink, whereas cyan and black aren't noticeably affected. So yeah, the black here and then cyan are not impacted at all. So really cool error. Debating on whether to get graded or not. Get that graded with CGC. It looks like the card's in good shape. So that's a incredible card. Leafeon VMAX. I believe this just sold for like $1,600, if I recalling correctly. I hope that's okay to announce the information there, but look at that. Just the other card here. The night and day contrast, the alignment dot. Obviously a chase card. Incredible. 8 error cards with yellow ink. Prismatic ETB today. So someone spilled something all the way around here. It's like, have you seen that where people want to make fantasy maps and so they lay out a bunch of rice and then they draw around it, and that kind of makes the topography and the island shape? That's kind of what this is, except not with rice, and it wasn't meant to actually happen. It happened on Pokemon cards, so really not that similar, but kind of cool. People are getting crazy popcorns here. I would save this almost. I might eat the popcorn though. I don't want it to get stale. I'd probably eat it and then like flatten it out and maybe put it in like a display case or something. But that's pretty cool. You can see whatever's missing on the top here is replaced on the bottom. Here is the cutoff, basically. No way. Is that like the printing thing to make sure everything's aligned too? These are like the would this be equivalent of edge of sheet, but there's no real edge of sheet for this? That's pretty cool. Pyroar. Oh yeah, Pokemon misprint, or Pokeball misprint on the back. There we go. So it looks like, what's that say? Fire something? It's a Pokeball. This is kind of like the texture. You can see all that stuff now. Does the front say fire as well? Because that could be... Yeah, so it is. I don't know if this was stacked on top of each other and the texture kind of got transferred to the other card, but we can see all this information here is on the back. Oh, it's pretty neat. Really not sure how that happens, though. Check the experts, see if they know. Sleeve it and wait for someone who knows more to show up than me. Oh, here we go, same person. Ink transfer, akin to when V cards have the imprint of another card on the back. Sheets were stacked before fully drying. Yes, okay, I think I said that. I think that's enough of Reddit. Okay, that's a cool one. Kind of want to show you how I go through and pick the error cards for the week. So this actually might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I just type in error Pokemon. I feel like so you see 12,000 results. If I type in error Pokemon card, 5,500 results. So the less you can type in while still getting the most results is the best, in my opinion. And I'll go down here to sold. And typically, so like for this upcoming week, I would want to see what is happened within the last week. So I would look May 12th through May 19th. This is obviously, I'm filming this May 18th, but I would film within, I would check the cards sold within that lot. And then basically go through, unless it's a crazy NFC, I wouldn't really show it, or something that I think would really grab attention in a thumbnail. So this actually might do okay. But in general, we'll just scroll through for a week's worth of error cards and see what would make sense. I really have in mind, I like to show repeating arrows like this. So here's that green spear, Kangaskhan. But also just want to see, keep in the back of my mind, what has the highest EVI? Because I think that's the most interesting. What's adding the most value to this card? If this Kangaskhan by itself sells for $2 and this sold for $25, you know, that's like a 1000% EVI. It's pretty good, but then you want to look for something like where would be another example? Obviously the Shining Magikarps are cool, you know, like the double hollows and everything, but really looking for something that would really drive the EVI high. And so like the TV Reporter Reverse Hollow, I don't believe this was actually supposed to be a Reverse Hollow, so that would be an error itself. It's not supposed to be printed like that. And I'm guessing that this, we can actually take a look. So we'd obviously have to check first. We'd go here and see what actually sold for. So when I'm doing everything later and adding the information. Oh, it's slow. Okay, so I would have to do a little bit of... Oh, so that sold? Okay, so this sold for $300. Then basically go here and go... I may have to look up and actually... Okay, so this one is... I don't believe it's supposed to be printed like this, but so they have reverse hollow pricing, but to compare it, I might compare it to the regular card. So we would go here... And $1.44. So it's like the contrast between that and that is crazy. So obviously this would make it into the recap. $1,400, I would include that. Glaceon V-Star, I'm really not aware of what this actually goes for, so I would, you know, it's a cool miscut, kind of. It's like not the best, so I would really, so $35. So this one would be like kind of on the chopping block. So this one would kind of be on the chopping block. I'd say like it's added quite a bit of value if it actually sold for this amount. But we'd have to see it. You know, I like to keep the max around 30 cards. So if I'm going to have 30 cards that are more interesting than this, then I would cut it out. But for right now, I would leave it. Black Flame, kind of cool, but also doesn't add that much value. So unless I haven't talked about the Black Flame for a while, I won't include it. But it just kind of, you know, it really depends. You want to kind of have a good balance of informing the audience, but also having it be really entertaining. So a Crimp Tops card, I don't see that often, so I would include that. Blastoise and Piplup for $500. So this is another one. I couldn't even guess how much this would actually go for. It's a 6-year-old Pokemon card. And so I would definitely need a little bit more information to see what it actually goes for. Okay, $205, but this is a big chase card, so to see a miscut chase card like that, it'd probably make it. And it also added $300 of value if it sold for that much. So, generally what I'm thinking. No symbol errors. I like to just basically have the PSA 10 or the grade 10 examples now. I think those are the most interesting. And I think we've gotten farther along, or you know, far enough along into this show where you're really looking for the top of the top and just something that really catches your eye. You're looking for the coolest error cards. Albino Border, that's a Sunfade. Good deal for a D error misprint. Not that I hate filler cards, by no means, but just don't really, I don't think they're that interesting. It's hard to compare it to a non-error card, so it messes with the EVI. Talked about this, actually, in this most recent episode. No number, and it probably have to be a grade 9 and sell for a lot in order to include it. Vintage Miscuts. See, I would include that. I would absolutely include that in a heartbeat. Hollow Bleed, I can tell it's Rookie Bob just by the photo. I don't think Rookie Bob ever replied to me when I used to reach out, but yeah, I would most likely include that. I think just because Hollow Bleeds are cool. Early Error Edition, promo rare. This wouldn't be included, I'm just kind of curious. Is that Nintendo error? No. It is, yeah. Nintendo. But PSA 10s are kind of the only thing I talk about. Or Beckett 10. Oh, this is similar to one I have, actually. That's neat. I would definitely include that. You know, ones that kind of talk about backstory, too. Or, you know, relate it to myself and just kind of tell a little bit more of a story. So that one would be awesome. Miscut, kind of cool, but EX cards, you can see them sell for like a lot more, and so $25 really isn't grabbing me. Even if it sold for $1 regularly, that's like not doing it for me. So I wouldn't really include that. Again, it's slim pickings for everything. Highlighter error, love that. Might include it just because I like the error. I like repeating errors. Boy, another reverse hollow, 420. So this is where it's interesting to see several of them sell too in the same week. Repeating error. I like repeating errors on modern cards. It's pretty cool. And then unique ones like this, where it's like the fold error here, where basically got folded over or something got you know, impacted the printing process where it looks like that. That's an obvious one. EvoBox error, always going to be in the top 10, so I add that. Square cuts, unless they sell for a lot, probably wouldn't include it. And then I'll show you the other one I look for that a shout out to a supporter of the channel gave me. You can see my save searches here. So, yeah, let's take a look at that one more time. right here, saved, basically Pokemon, and then it includes all of this, and then minus an error. So that kind of covers everything that is not covered under error Pokemon. So I go here, and I check that, and that is where it can show different listings that were sold that are not covered by that. So I would do that. You can see like this. I believe that is usually not worth that much, so I would include that in the video. Selling the lot like this, that's pretty cool. I think I would include that. I think selling 6 cards, even if it doesn't make the top 10, that's fine. So we have all that, and then we would also include going to Fanatics Collect. Yeah, I apologize if this isn't the most riveting video, but I thought it was just kind of fun to show behind the scenes and just, yeah, show you how I find everything for the weekly recap, and also impose my limited wisdom or whatever I have on you guys. Sold items, yes, boop, boop, boop. Filters, sold date, so this is the most recent, and basically just look to see what sold in the last week. Fanatics Collect can be hit or miss. You usually don't take too many from it, and you see May 19th through the 12th is what we're looking for what was sold, and so these are all May 11th. I had already looked at these for the previous one, and then these ones just not that interesting, so wouldn't do anything there. I would go to Heritage auctions to see if anything big sold. Usually nothing ever does, especially if you just search error Pokemon past. Most recent sales, yeah, May 13th. Oh, that's actually pretty recently, but not that interesting. Yeah, so this one's kind of hit or miss. You'll see one of 20 videos, maybe I'll include something from Heritage Auctions. Learned about Alt recently when one of these other ones sold, so I would look for error Pokemon on here. Yeah, here we go. So sold listings. This includes eBay, and I've seen all those already, so I would exclude eBay, just do PWCC or Golden Auctions or Alt Auctions. So these are the ones, and then see if there's anything interesting. First edition Red Cheeks Pikachu, not that interesting. CGC 5.5 Mew was May 11th, so not even in that time frame. It's just not interesting. And then a bunch of square cuts for actually pretty good value. I'd say check some of these sites if you want to get some good cards, but yeah, nothing really that interesting. And so that would kind of wrap up everything. I guess I can show this. So here's the spreadsheet I use each week then. We have the link title, because sometimes if I save a link, it won't be the exact same every time, so I save the title too, so if I go and I don't see it, I can type in this exact title in the search again, I'd find it. Sale price and error value increase, so this is what I use to find this, and then here is the untouched, basically the order that I find them in. I use all this, and you can see I have, boy, all the way back to week 20, I think, is when I was doing this, and now we're at week 40, we're at week 62 here, so this is the previous week. So basically just do this, I would take all of these and put them into something where it opens them all up, and basically do that. And then for the information that you see, we have week 62 info final. So right here, here's the top 10 that I look at, and then I put that in the video as a PNG. And then here's every single card that I talk about, and it's basically I put them together in a Photoshop list from an Excel spreadsheet, and then I just zoom in on each one and show the information, and I can actually, you know, zoom in closer if I want. I can use the mouse to show it instead of just adding it in the video after the fact. I think it's just easier to do this. So here is all of the non-error cards for week 62 that I talked about. So it's about like a 19 megabyte file, and yeah, I find this to be easiest, and just the less editing I can do and the more I can do while I'm filming is the easiest. So, probably not interesting to 99% of the people, but if you just like to see what goes on behind the scenes and else just hear me talk or rant or whatever, I hope this is interesting. It's kind of what I do for error cards. You know, it's fun to find errors, fun to connect with people, see what other errors people are finding, and show my way of how I like to navigate the Pokemon trading card hobby. You know, we all have our different things we like to search for, and when I was searching for, and when I was first getting back into the hobby a couple years ago, I was just trying to find cards I didn't have before, and it's like, oh, I found it right away. That's not that fun. You know, you want to kind of have the hunt and the search be a part of it. And so having something that you can search for and repeating errors and getting to meet new people, just all this all together is why I love this. Why I love this hobby and why I love making videos is the community, you guys. So if you made it to the end, really don't know why, but I appreciate it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.